Hey guys, and welcome to tonight's live. How's everybody doing? Hopefully everybody is doing great. Great. Linda just said Idaho. I don't know what that was about, but okay. I haven't been in the chat. I came in and I said, hey, earlier, and then I was reading some stuff for tonight's live. So it's good to see everybody. I'm just kind of going through to see everybody. Welcome in, everybody. Thank you guys for being here. Thank you, mods, for being here tonight. I appreciate it. I appreciate that. Cheryl was in here extra early because she was bored, she said. So hopefully she'll be back if she's not here right now. But if you guys wouldn't mind just taking a second to hit the thumbs up button, it does help the channel. It sends it out into the algorithm, so more people will come in and chit chat with us and enjoy the live. Happy Friday. Yes, Margo, it is Friday. It's Friday and it's the first of a new month. So I like the beginning of a new month. I always feel like it's a fresh start. New beginnings. If you guys want to join the membership, I'll put the link in the chat there for you if you like. We do accept new members daily. Daily. Funny. I'm so funny. I have notes, but I don't even know why I wrote notes because I never go by the notes. I never go by them. But I do have some stuff for us for tonight, and it's going to be a good live. So there's a couple of new documents that come out, out of Idaho, and we'll go over those. And then I have a podcast that I was going to play for you guys, and I might play 2 of them, just depending on how the live goes and where we're at. But I think that because they're kind of shorter podcasts compared to an hour long, they're like a half hour. So we'll see where we are. And I got some pictures to go along with the podcast, so it's not so boring for you all. And let me just throw this up on the screen so everybody can see what I can see. Basically, this is I'm going to go up to the top. I always like to show you this page whenever we start because sometimes people don't know about it. And if you don't know about it and you want the link, just let me know and I'll put the link in the chat. But this is the State of Idaho site. And before we get started, I guess I should tell you my name. It's Tanya. If you guys are new here, I like to tell. I've been trying to say my name in the beginning because sometimes I forget. And then people are like, who is this person I'm even listening to? So I'm Tanya, or TitaniumBuilt. But this is, and we're going to talk about Idaho tonight, of course. And I'm sure everybody in the chat is familiar with Idaho. And if you're not familiar with the case, let me know and I'll get you up to speed a little bit. If you have any questions, just drop them in the chat and we'll try to get to your questions as well. So this is the State of Idaho's site. So when Brian Kohlberger was arrested, they started putting all of the legal documents on to this website for us to view as the public. And you can see other people, they have cases for other people up there as well. I always like to go through and just kind of show you and make sure that there's nothing else that's been added. So it's been updated today. There's a crap ton of paper, like different paperwork, different motions that they have filed for him. But the ones that we're going to look at today, it doesn't look like they've added any more ones since I looked. So we're going to go through the 30th and then the 31st. So, or 31st, I'm sorry, and the 1st. Not that many. And let me know how you guys' day is going. Hopefully it's going good. It's been beautiful here today in Ohio. I don't know if anyone's from Ohio in the chat right now, but it was beautiful here today. I went out and I got some sun. I was excited because, you know, sometimes it gets colder in Ohio fast. So usually September 1st, it's like everything like goes to a halt, and it feels like the trees have already turned color sometimes. So I was pleasantly surprised, and they're going to actually keep the pool up until like the 21st. I'm excited about that. Beautiful in South Carolina. Oh, I bet it is. I love the Carolinas. I think they're the prettiest states. I really do. I think they're so pretty. When me and Vincent we were on a mission to move out of Ohio at one point, and I was trying to get him to go to the Carolinas, but he wasn't feeling it as much as me because he's never been there. But they're beautiful states. So the first document here is going to be the motion to temporarily seal state supplemental response to defendant's third motion to compel discovery pending hearing. A lot of these documents, the title is literally the whole document. Like, it really is. I forgot to highlight the top of it, though. So anything that's highlighted in blue, it's going to be for the defense. Anything highlighted in pink is going to be for the state. And then anything that's in yellow is for the courts. And then I also put in like television, the cameras and stuff in that as well, because that's kind of what they're talking about in these sets of documents and getting things rescheduled. So basically this one says, you know, comes now the state of Idaho by and through. Oh, I accidentally did this one wrong. I did this with blue and this is supposed to be with pink. So just pretend like it is, okay? Sorry about that. Sorry about that, guys. And hereby moves the court pursuant to Idaho Court Administrative Rule and the Idaho Code for temporarily order sealing state supplemental response to defendant's third motion to compel discovery. So every time that they put out evidence or they put something that they don't want us to see, like the public, they'll come out and they'll put this document out. And it'll say because they need it to be sealed because it can interfere with enforcement proceedings, deprive a person of a right to a fair trial or an impartial a jurisdiction, or constitute an unwarranted invasion of personal privacy, disclose the identity of a confidential source, and or disclose the investigative techniques and procedures. And then they just usually say that it'll be sealed, and then they just sign it. Ashley Jennings, Senior Deputy Prosecutor. And then it says, you know, where the state respectfully prays that the court seal from public disclosure the state supplemental response to defendant's third motion to compel discovery. And then the next one is the order granting it. So State of Idaho versus Brian Kohlberger. Oh, Wilby, you live in Carolinas too? Oh, I didn't know that. I just saw the chat. Oh, man, we got a lot of Carolina people in here. I might have to go to the Carolinas. My grandparents lived in Etowah, North Carolina. I don't know if you know where that is. It's a very small little retirement kind of town, but they loved it. Beautiful house there. They had like little albino squirrels. They were like white. They were so cute. Mindy, I think the people there are nice too in North Carolina. I think you're right. Well, we know they're crazier in South Carolina because that's where Summer's from. Just kidding. A little bit. And so this is the State of Idaho versus Brian Kohlberger, temporarily order sealing state supplemental response to defendant's third motion to compel discovery pending hearing. So this document here says, based upon the state's motion to temporarily seal state supplemental response to defendant's third motion to compel discovery pending hearing, filed herein and no objection from defense counsel, the court does hereby confirm and order that the state's supplemental response to defendant's third motion to compel discovery pending hearing exempt from disclosure and are sealed pursuant to Idaho Court Administrative Rule 32. Maybe just maybe before trial, some of these will come unsealed. Maybe. Well, looky there. It's Chosen. Thanks for gifting a membership. I haven't seen you in a while. Welcome in. Thank you. Welcome in. I don't know if you've been in the chat, but I didn't see you earlier. I'm scrolling back up like, did I miss you? I should have my chat over here so I could see y'all. But of course it's over here, so I can't. That's like the best kind of like way to make an entrance, gift a membership. That's the best way to like be in the chat and you're just sitting there and you get a membership gifted. That's like the best feeling. I love that. It's happened to me before. Like when I've been in other chats and I've gotten gifted and I'm like, this is awesome. Like Summer gifted me one time. It just happened to go to me. It was Summer gifts a lot of memberships. I'm everywhere. I need 1 million. No, I'm not Melissa J. No, she has her own channel. This one, so the next document is going to be, we had the scheduling order back before Brian waived his right to a speedy trial. And I even still have it up here. I'm going to grab it actually. I had it all printed out, was ready to go. So then they switched everything around. So this is going to be what the new scheduling guidelines, I guess, are going to be. So it says here, State of Idaho versus Brian Kohlberger, order vacating hearing on defendant's motion to remove cameras from the courtroom, vacating trial, vacating scheduling order, and setting scheduling conference. Based on the status hearing held on August 23rd, 2023, the media's motion to intervene and motion to continue hearing filed on August 30th, 2023, and the agreement of the parties, the court orders the following. Get your pen and paper ready. The hearing on defendant's motion to remove cameras from the courtroom that was scheduled at 1 p.m. on September 1st, 2023 is vacated. So no more in-person, there was no in-person court today. A scheduling conference will be conducted by Zoom on September 1st at 1 p.m. So instead of them being in the courtroom, they did it via Zoom. Because I know that their attorney that is working with the media side, he was unable to, I guess, be there for it. So I don't understand why they couldn't just do that Zoom to begin with if they're not from that area. Like, can you really see yourself like having to fly out or something every time they have a court hearing? We have Zoom now, Zoom. Diana, so they didn't have the hearing for today. They did. They have it by Zoom. So it should be over by now. But I don't think that we'll probably have an answer right away. I should have had that pulled up, y'all. Let me see. Well, that was like the cutest thing I've ever seen in my life. Okay. I don't see anything on there yet. Okay. Nope. So I think it says it in here. Maybe. I can't remember. I read this earlier before I went to the store and my brain's fried now. We're packing stuff up. It's just been crazy around here. So maybe we'll read it through here. Maybe. It says the parties and counsel for the media will appear by Zoom. Courtroom number 3 of the Latah County Courthouse will be open to the public for those who would like to sit and listen to the scheduling conference. At that time, a new hearing date for defendant's motion to remove cameras from the courtroom will be set. So they just, I guess basically today, they just went on Zoom and were setting the date for a different time. That sounds like a waste to me. Number 3, the hearing on defendant's motion to dismiss indictment originally scheduled for September 1st, 2023 at 1 p.m. is reset to September 22nd, 2023. So, he was, the defendant was, Brian Kohlberger was going to have, file a motion to dismiss the whole indictment against him. And that was going to be today. But since they waived the speedy trial, everything's kind of getting pushed forward a little bit because they need the more time. Defendant's motion to dismiss indictment on grounds of biased grand jury, inadmissible evidence, lack of sufficient evidence, and prosecutorial misconduct and withholding exculpatory evidence will be heard at 10:30 a.m. Now, this part of the hearing is going to be sealed to the public. Based on the stipulation of the parties, the hearing will be sealed to protect the privacy of the grand jurors. But I don't get it here in a minute because they're going to talk about the grand jury anyway. Here in a minute, it says it. Defendant's motion to dismiss indictment on grounds of error in grand jury instructions or in the alternative remand for preliminary hearing will be held at 1 p.m. and will be open to the public. So the defendant's motion to dismiss indictment on grounds of error in grand jury instructions, that one everyone can see. Everyone's open to the public for that one. But the one we really want to see, defendant's motion to dismiss indictment on grounds of biased grand jury, inadmissible evidence, lack of sufficient evidence, and prosecutorial misconduct, and withholding exculpatory evidence, that one is going to be not available for public for us to see. Sad about that. Welcome in, everybody. Welcome in, guys. It's good to see everybody. Where were we at? Okay, so number 4, the jury trial is set to commence at 8:30 a.m. on October 2nd, 2023 is vacated. The scheduling order dated August 18th, 2023, Nook Pro Tuck, I don't know how to say that, to August 22nd, 2023 is vacated. Let's see if we can look that up. Oh, I need to, let's see. I don't know what that means. Do you guys know? It's like Latin. It's a Latin term meaning now for then. Generally, this refers to an action taken by a court that applies retroactively to correct an earlier ruling. Huh. Well, it's vacated, whatever it is. I don't know. That's very strange. I'm going to grab my drink really quick. Thanks for being here, everybody. Hey, Sally Mae. I'm like going back up in the chat. I'm trying to see. Did Chosen even come in the chat, or did he just drop a membership and peace out on us? I'm like, I was trying to get back up in the chat. I'm like, seeing if they're in here. That's so funny. Either way, we miss ya in the chat. We missed ya. Candy too. Where were we at? If I close some of the windows out, makes it better, makes it easier. So the next couple are from today, and it looks to me like they're just kind of what we went through the other day when they, so in order for you to be able to go inside the courtroom and film like any part of the, trial at all, or any part of any hearing, you have to read Rule 45 of the Idaho Court Administrative Rules. And it's about permitting, cameras in the courtroom and what you need to comply with in order for you to be able to come in there and do that. So now they're having people sign like a little, paper saying I read it and I understand it. Because I don't know, people can't act like adults, I guess, and just, I don't know, very weird. But I don't think that they really did anything wrong. I think the person that cropped the picture is the person that did something wrong. But I want to point this out to you guys. This person must be pretty young because they don't even know how to spell their name in cursive. Like, that is not a signature, sir. Or August. I guess that could be a girl. That's a girl, probably. August. They don't teach that anymore. They just can't teach you that anymore. But because made me giggle because we were making fun of my handwriting today, actually. Vincent couldn't read it. And it's because half of my handwriting is in cursive and half of it is in print. I don't know why I do that. I do. It's just, I have the worst handwriting. I told y'all I did. But you'll see, because this person on the next page, they knew what the assignment was. They read the assignment and they were like, okay, we can sign it. But I didn't know if you guys knew that they were taking that out of schools like 10 years ago or something. Like, they weren't teaching the kids how to write their name in cursive. Isn't that crazy? That's what they taught us in like kindergarten. Yeah, it is very strange that that Brian doesn't have to wear handcuffs in there, because normally people do. I mean, normally they do. You see Stephen Avery, or it's not Stephen Avery. I was thinking about him earlier. That's an old case. Now, oh my gosh, I can't remember the person's name. Guys, oh my gosh. I was thinking of Stephen Avery for some reason earlier in that documentary. Richard Allen. Took me a minute. Creepy guys, I guess. Creepy guys. But Richard Allen, like, when he goes down to court, he doesn't want to wear street clothes. He doesn't care, I guess. He's just like wearing whatever. But they always have him shackled. They're walking him down. Like, they walk him with officers into the court and then back. Like, Brian Kohlberger, I mean, let him wear whatever he wants or whatever. But, you would think that they would have him handcuffed. That's very weird, I don't know. It was, so he was, I think, in handcuffs at one point, but yeah, they just stopped putting him in there, putting him on them. Oh, that's cute. Augie. And your nephew's name's August. I think that's a cute name for a boy. That is a cute name for a boy. I wonder if it's a boy or a girl now. I'm wondering who August is. We'll find out. August Frank. Those were all the documents, though. And I think I was going to read you just something really quick. And I don't even really need to read it because it was just what we already went through. Just as a hearing whether a hearing over whether they'll allow cameras in the Idaho courtroom where Brian Kohlberger is set to stand trial on murder charges has been postponed. A coalition of media outlets challenging Kohlberger's request to remove the cameras, which are currently being allowed, says it needs more time to prepare for the hearing initially scheduled for Friday, today. During a scheduling conference today, Latah County Judge John Judge rescheduled the hearing for September the 13th. So that is scheduled for September 13th. Kohlberger is charged with first-degree murder in the deaths of Kayla Gonzalez, 21, Madison Mogan, 21, Zana Kernodle, 20, and Ethan Chapin, 20. The 4 University of Idaho students were found stabbed to death inside an off-campus rental home in November 2022. I guess I could put it over here. It says lawyers for Kohlberger argue that camera operators have violated conditions previously set by the court to not focus solely on the defendant. Continuing to do so, his lawyers argue, will possibly taint the jury pool and deprive him of his constitutional right to a fair trial. A defendant on trial for a specific crime is entitled to his day in court, not a stadium or a city or a nationwide arena. Similarly, Kohlberger is entitled to defend himself against capital criminal charges without cameras focused on his fly. Remember, we went through that earlier. And that was somebody, I think, on Twitter that took a picture of him walking in with Jay Logston, and they did that. Lawyers for the media organization say they have not violated the court's order, particularly challenging the defense assertion that one photo posted to X, formerly known as Twitter, intentionally focused on Kohlberger's crotch. Ain't nobody care about his crotch. The only thing we are looking at are his pants going up to his nipples. Why were his pants so high? That's what I would have been looking at. Because that's the only part I saw. I saw him walk in, and then I didn't watch the rest of the court proceeding. I still haven't watched it. It's one I'm just going to sit out on. And I've done everything with this case, but this is just, I read it and I'm like, I'm cool still. Ain't nobody worried about his crotch. I mean, no woman's ever going to see that area. Probably. Because he's going to probably be, he probably should be worried about other things. Now I wonder who the crotch thing came from. Now, was that from Kohlberger? Because how would he find out about that? He don't have Twitter on his iPad, does he? So I would say it was Ann Taylor's idea. And thank you, Glowbug, for gifting a membership. That's so incredibly nice. Thank you. And look at that. Danielle got the membership. That's awesome. That's awesome. So yeah, it cracks me up. I mean, I don't know where they come up with it. Or maybe Jay Logston's seen it. Maybe he's like going on Twitter, you never know. I didn't see the picture. I didn't even see the picture. You saw it, Brooklyn? I need to see it. Gary, nobody's interested in his damn crotch. I know. Get over yourself, Kohlberger. He probably heard about them Brian's girls and he's like feeling himself a little bit, No photographs or camera coverage focused on Mr. Kohlberger's fly. Rather, one random X user, I hate that name X. I hate it. I'm just going to call it Twitter. Modified a photo showing Mr. Kohlberger and a deputy entering the courtroom by cropping it to a very small size, focused on his belt and adding a reference to Mr. Kohlberger's fly. Even the crop photo itself does not focus on Mr. Kohlberger's fly. Additionally, a hearing on the defense motion to dismiss has been set for September 22nd. Last week, Kohlberger waived his right to a speedy trial, which will no longer begin October 2nd, as previously scheduled. He could face the death penalty if convicted. Yeah, where did you see it? That is, yeah, Therese. Yeah, they always do that with the documents too. I was reading the chat because it's like, I'm like, what were they trying to do? Were they trying to put like were they looking at his belt to try to put like a sheath on it, or something? Like crop a sheath on there? I don't know. I could see people doing something like that, being just funny, just trying to be funny, So yeah, so next is going to be September the 13th. I think you're right. And then it'll be the 22nd. So yeah, the scheduling hearing will be the 13th for the cameras. And then for like the dismissing of the indictment and stuff, it's going to be the 22nd. But I think that's the one that we won't be privy to. We'll only be privy to like half of that court hearing, which is going to be stupid. I don't like that. I want to know the whole thing. You would think that like, I don't know. This is just crazy. This is craziness. Okay. We're going to watch the podcast now, but I wanted to see okay. I was trying to see if there's anything like on Twitter really quick just to make sure we didn't miss anything, but I don't think we did. This is all like older stuff. Wow. Okay, sorry. There's nothing. I was just making sure. I was just triple checking. I want to see the picture. It's funny. What did Brooklyn say? He's not special. He's not. You can make worse memes about him. I think it's fun. I want to see the meme. I just think it's after like Summer sent me a clip today of myself. And I should be a whole damn meme. Everything I say should be a meme. Like everything she sent me today, oh, it was golden. It was golden. I might have to play it for you guys. This case really does something to people, you know? It really does. It really does. It was pretty funny though, what I was saying. So let me go ahead and share the screen with you. And so we already went over the first two of the episodes. So basically we'll be on the third. And the third episode is the Idaho Massacre, and it's in search of a connection. So, well, thank you, Brandy Wine and True Crime. Thank you so much for the super chat. Thank you. The super sticker. I appreciate that so much. I love your picture. You're so pretty. Wow. I never see people to like blow them up on the screen. And I'm like, oh, you guys are always good looking people in the chat. I love that. Okay, so yeah, so this is going to be the In Search of a Connection. So from the start, investigators described the brutal murders at the University of Idaho as a targeted attack. But what connection, if there is any? So they're going to go over what the connection could be between the 4 students in Idaho and PhD graduate from Pullman, Washington. So the first podcast is like 33 minutes. So we'll play that one and see where we're at. And then after that one, if the likes are good and we got people in the chat, we're cool. Maybe we'll play another one, or maybe we'll save it for tomorrow because I have like 3 to play all together. So we'll see where we're at. We'll just see where we're at. Let me go to this page. And I'm going to pause this because it usually will. Yep, go back to the beginning.
They say, code timer. Overtime, not just to go.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and play this now. And I'm going to put up, so instead of like a video, this is a podcast. So I'm going to put overlay pictures. That way it kind of has like a visual. So you guys have like, something visual to look at while we're listening to it. And oh, thank you, Texas Girl. I appreciate that so much. She said you do a great job, by the way. I like that. Thank you. So yeah, I'll just try to like, make it look like, it's a little bit more of a video for you guys. I didn't get a chance to listen to the second one today though. So if we do play the second one, we might have to like reuse a couple photos, but we'll see where we're at.
This is the Idaho Massacre, a production of KT Studios and iHeartRadio. Episode 3, In Search of a Connection. I'm Courtney Armstrong, a television producer at KT Studios with Stephanie Lydecker, Jeff Shane, and Connor Powell. An unthinkable nightmare comes to life in the small college community of Moscow. 4 students at the University of Idaho butchered to death in the early hours of Sunday, November 13th. The gruesome murders spark a multi-state investigation stretching from Washington to Idaho to Pennsylvania. The 48-day investigation ended on the other side of the country with the stunning arrest of a PhD criminal student and would-be law enforcement officer named Brian Koberger. Moscow Police James Fry on the arrest.
These tragic murders took 4 young, vibrant lives from our community. These murders have shaken our community, and no arrest will ever bring back these young students. However, we do believe justice will be found through the criminal process.
Was there some sort of connection?
I think that it is likely that there's a relationship between these 4 students and this person.
From the first hours of the investigation, law enforcement officials described the murders of Kaylee Gonsalves, Madison Mogan, Xana Kernodle, and Ethan Chapin as a targeted attack. But police offered no other information. Shannon Gray, an attorney representing the family of soon-to-graduate senior Kaylee Gonsalves, said publicly that none of the victims knew Brian Koberger, leaving the question, how was this a targeted attack? Here's Stephanie Lydecker, Jeff Shane, and producer Connor Powell.
I think when we all picture a murder of this size, we picture a masked killer like you see in the movies. But in reality, stranger homicide is extremely rare. This changes from year to year, but typically around 50% of all murder victims are killed by someone they know. So it begs the question, how did the accused, Brian Kohberger, know the victims?
It does feel like there has to be some connective tissue in some way. Either maybe they met in passing, or maybe they had some sort of class together.
Social media allows people to know people, but not actually know them. They can follow them. They can essentially digitally stalk them. So he might have known them and they might never have known him.
And that's actually a parasocial relationship, which is this one-way relationship we have with, it used to be people on TV and the movies, but now with the social media, you really can intimately know someone without ever having met them.
And you can also see the layout to their home. We're on social media and we're doing it in our houses or outside of our houses. And that can be a real tell for anybody who's a predator.
As we know, the victims were frequently posting on social media, which oftentimes showed the layout of their home.
The 6-bedroom house on King Road is tucked away in a residential area of Moscow. It's surrounded by an 18-hole golf course, the University of Idaho's Fraternity Row, and other residential homes. It sits about 2 miles from the large commercial shopping area where the Target and Walmart are, and about 2 miles from the main downtown bar area.
About 4 years before the crime, I was in Moscow, Idaho for homecoming. I was campaigning for Congress in the 1st District of Idaho, so participated in the homecoming parade, passing out literature, shaking a few hands, waving at the crowd. At the conclusion of the parade, one of my good supporters who was also in town, a friend of mine and a law office client of mine, had a son who was one of the rental residents leasing that particular property.
That's David H. Leroy speaking to producer Jeff Shane. Leroy is a former local prosecutor turned defense attorney. He served as Idaho's Attorney General. He's also a graduate of the University of Idaho College of Law and has been in the house where the murders happened.
So we went over to the house, ended up on the 2nd floor in a living room area, and chatted with his son and the other 2 or 3 residents who were students at the university at that time, living in the house where the crime would be committed about 4 years later.
What was it like being in there?
A gray 3-story building set in a relatively hard to get to backwater street up against a hill, so that you have a couple of different levels of entry in the house. To go into the lowest level is basically almost a daylight type basement. And then you must walk up a stairway to get to the 2nd floor where bedrooms and the living room area occupy the front of the house. Upstairs, there were additional bedrooms. We didn't visit those, but it's a 3-story set against the hill structure that has multiple entrance levels and multiple exit levels.
You were a student there, so you've, I imagine, lived in different places. Was this house typical of where a student might live in Moscow?
This house was probably built in the 1970s, no later than the 80s, in an area that's immediately adjacent to campus. Literally the campus boundary and the fraternities and sororities that ring the center of the campus against a large hill, which is topped by the University of Idaho's water tower with a big emblematic eye on the exterior of the structure, is no more than a quarter of a mile off campus. It's against a hill with single-family residences and other student population apartment buildings, and it's perhaps no more than half a mile from the center of the campus, 2/3 of a mile from the student union itself.
When they weren't sure who did it, they thought this couldn't be that random because this house was kind of tucked away. It was a little bit on, it's not like a cul-de-sac, but it's a little bit of a dead end. Like it's not a major thoroughfare. What's your take on that?
Now, there's no immediate arterial proximate to this house. You must turn off an arterial and then off a subarterial and then off that subarterial to go up a hillside almost to a dead end, about 100 or 125 yards before you get to this house. To get to this structure where the killings took place, You have to work at it, and you don't immediately pass by it on your way to anything else.
So it stands to reason that whomever did this did not just stumble upon the house.
One of the issues that was of great concern semantically as these investigations were developing was whether these children and whether this house was, quote, targeted in some way. The initial observations of the law enforcement officials, the prosecutor included, were that there was some kind of targeting, and it was a logical conclusion given where this event happened and the fact that so many students were involved as victims. But it is some place that you need to work to get to and would not necessarily happen upon, even if you were looking for a random place to commit a crime.
Here again, Stephanie, Jeff, and Connor.
I went on Google Maps. I just wanted to map out where this house on King Road was. And it's really not a part of the city of Moscow where people would just sort of end up. It's not near the main bar area. It's not near the commercial shopping area. It is a really secluded little sort of neighborhood. A lot of people live there, but it's not the type of place that you would just sort of drive by.
And that's been confirmed by a few people that we've talked to who have actually been to the house, that it's a trek to get there and you wouldn't just stumble upon it.
I think one of the things that is sort of interesting about the house is it really was considered a party house, which really isn't all that surprising given the fact that there's a bunch of upperclassmen living in there, some seniors, soon to be graduating seniors. It's close to Fraternity Row. And I think the real question is like, is there any possibility that Brian Kohberger would have ever been in that house for some other reason?
And if Brian Kohberger, is a PhD student, whether he was invited or not, maybe he could have sort of slipped in the back door and without being spotted. Or would that be unusual?
We know that the house had parties where even the girls weren't always at the parties. I mean, there's a police record of police showing up and none of the residents of the house are even there. They're talking to some people who don't live there. And the police are like, well, you got a noise complaint. We really need to talk to somebody who's on the lease. And so people are always coming and going from this house. But still, how do you get from Pullman as a PhD criminology student to, as you said, somebody who's kind of creepy? How do you end up at an undergraduate house in a totally different university? It just doesn't seem likely that Brian would have ended up there unless somebody invited them.
If the house on King Road was targeted, as police say, was it because of who lived there? Here's Jeff Shane speaking with reporter Anjanette Levy from the Law and Crime Network.
Does it matter how he knew them?
I think it becomes relevant if he knew them because it's just another dot to connect. I mean, if he didn't know them, if he actually had never interacted with any of them, that's so terrifying if he's indeed the guilty party. What in the heck is going on? Like, why did you kill these people? I think it's more of like an understanding. It's an explanation, not an excuse. But I think you have to look at, had he ever interacted with them? Because if he's like, I don't know who these girls are, I don't know who these people are, and I have no clue what's going on. Why would I have anything to do with these kids? They're way younger than I was. I'm a 28-year-old PhD student. I mean, I think it connects a dot if he had indeed interacted with any of them.
Brian Kohberger.
Do you guys think that he was ever at the home? I'm curious to know what you guys think in the chat. I personally, I'm on the fence, I think. But I think that you would have to, let me take the banner down there. Put me up there. To know that layout of that home, you would have to be in the home, you would think. Unless you looked it up on Zillow, and when you looked it up on Zillow, you were lucky enough to see that there was that step there, because that step that leads from the living room to the hallway that leads to either Dylan's bedroom, the third floor, or the kitchen area, there's a step down from there. I don't know how tall the step is, but it's definitely a step down or a step up. And I would trip over it every time. Even if I lived in the home, I still feel like I would trip over that. So let me know what you guys think. Let me know if you think the same way as me, because I don't know. He would have had to have been on like Zillow, collegepads.com. That's where I saw it the first time when I looked it up. But I know that there wasn't a whole lot of websites out there that really gave you a good description because everybody was writing it down on napkins, like trying to map it out in the beginning of this whole process. People were trying to figure out the layout of that house. So I'll go ahead and unpause this. If you guys wouldn't mind just slapping your DNA on that like button, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. We'd love to have you.
Moved to Pullman, Washington to begin his PhD studies in June of 2022. According to a police affidavit, cell phone data showed he was in the area of the home on King Road at least 12 times between August 2022 and the murders. But did Bryan Kohberger know or have a connection to any of the victims? Here again, Jeff, Connor, and Stephanie.
By all accounts, Ethan being at the house was kind of just chance. Yes, he stayed with Xana a lot, but Xana would also stay at his fraternity house. So based on what we know now, it stands to reason he didn't know Ethan would even be home that night.
Ethan's Instagram profile was set to private, but it seems unlikely that Ethan was the target given the fact that his social media presence was pretty limited and there's no connection between Ethan and Bryan Kohberger.
What a horrifying thought, too, that this could have been a missed night for him, the sliding door of that. What was it about that particular day in the alleged assailant's life that said, today's the day? It just makes you think if he had gotten a flat tire or if he had caught a cold or if the light was red and not green, something maybe could have shaken him out of this morning. And who knows, maybe 4 people could still be alive. This is the stuff nightmares are made of.
All 3 of the female victims, 21-year-old Kaylee Gonsalves, 20-year-old Xana Kernodle, and 21-year-old Madison Mogen had public Instagram accounts, and all 3 roommates regularly posted to social media, including TikTok. It doesn't appear that Madison, Kaylee, Xana, or Ethan knew Kohberger. None of them followed anyone by the name of Bryan Kohberger on social media. However, Kaylee Gonsalves' father, Steve, has said there are connections between his daughter and Kohberger, but he has not commented on the possible connection.
With so little information coming out at the beginning, there was so much speculation about the victims and the accused and their movements around the murders. As we know, Maddie and Kaylee spent their final night at the Corner Club, which is a popular bar in downtown Moscow. And people had speculated that maybe Kohberger had been there. He was a regular, that he met them there, he saw them there. There's been nothing to say that that's true. It's possible.
Yeah, it's not addressed at all in the probable cause affidavit. It's not addressed by investigators at anywhere. It's just pure speculation. Sure, anything is possible, but there's nothing linking Bryan Kohberger to the Corner Club, either that night or previous nights. And, that's one of those sort of rumors that I think has kind of been shot down, but it doesn't seem that that is the connection between Bryan Kohberger and the 4 victims.
There was also a rumor, or there were reports that Xana and Maddie, as we know, were both waitresses at the same restaurant. And one of the unidentified workers from that restaurant claimed that they remembered Kohberger attending there because he had a very strict diet and had very specific diet requests. But that ended up becoming unfounded as well.
Reporter Anjanette Levy also went to the Mad Greek restaurant and spoke to people there.
I have been to the Mad Greek, and nobody at the Mad Greek that I spoke to recalled ever seeing him there. And they knew the young women who worked there. Xana worked there and Maddie worked there. So the people I talked with at the Mad Greek did not recall ever seeing him there.
The owner of the Mad Greek, Jackie Fisher, also issued a statement that said there is no evidence that Kohberger ate at the restaurant. Let's stop here for a break. We'll be back in a moment.
College football fans, are you ready whenever you want?
Happen to you. But consider this. If your identity is stolen, you shouldn't mean complicated.
Media speculation about a possible
TV is more than a smart TV. It's a better TV. Learn more today at Roku.com. Happy streaming.
Online and media speculation about a possible connection between Kohberger and the victims has largely focused on some type of social media connection. Did Brian Koberger digitally stalk Xana, Maddie, and Kaylee? Again, Stephanie, Jeff, and Connor.
According to People magazine, Koberger followed Maddie, Kaylee, and Xana before the account was actually deleted, meaning his account was deleted. There's no mention of the other two roommates. Is that enough of a connection? And again, is this just rumor? The outlet also reported that Koberger messaged at least one of the victims. They didn't respond. But then apparently Brian Koberger reached out again and again and again and again and again. Is that stalker mentality? Or is that just somebody on social media who wants an answer on something and now that's getting blown into something larger?
I actually looked for myself in terms of, did Brian follow them? Because as we know, the victims' profiles were mostly public. And, you know, if you search through Kaylee's followers, for example, there are Brian Koberger profiles who follow her, but now there's a bunch of them. So it's clear that there are people out in the world who are making accounts with Brian Koberger's names following these victims, which that level of depravity is disgusting. But to me, that indicates that we as the public don't know for sure if he followed them. Of course, officials might know something we don't, because what People magazine reports that 2 weeks prior to the murders in late October, he allegedly sent a message to one of the victims, basically just saying, "Hey, how are you?" But he didn't get a response and kept repeatedly messaging them over and over again.
What is a person supposed to do? Somebody reaches out to them on social media or DMs them and they don't want to engage. So they just ignore. But yet that ignoring somehow gets potentially obsessive for the person who's not getting a response. There's no right or wrong answer.
It seems very plausible, and it makes sense that Brian Koberger was probably using social media to contact them. I mean, that just, as we're trying to find an answer for what's the connection, that seems like very likely, right? But, you know, an unnamed source in People magazine, like, how much do you want to actually grab onto that and say, yeah, this is concrete? It still feels like, until we get it from investigators, it still feels like just a theory and just an idea, as opposed to something that you can be like, oh yeah, that definitely happened. That is for a fact, you know, the connection.
Here's Jeff Shane speaking with Anjanette Levy from the law.
I just put this in the chat, but I wanted to tell you guys what I thought. I think that the messages that if Brian Koberger were to be online on Instagram, DMing, sliding into the DMs, that's what they were saying in the beginning of this case, sliding into the DMs of any of these, you know, of any of the girls, or even of Ethan, you never know. I don't believe that these guys, meaning Kaylee, Xana, Ethan, or Maddie, ever saw those messages. I think that it went into a separate folder, and then that separate folder, because I haven't looked, but I probably have messages in there right now. I don't ever get on Instagram. But if you don't know the person, if you're not following each other, sometimes it'll go into a separate like spam kind of folder. You have to physically go in and look for it. So I think that's kind of maybe what it was. And his messages weren't even being seen. And if they were probably just being ignored, because if he was trying to holler at Maddie or Kaylee or Xana, they all were in relationships. Kaylee technically wasn't in a relationship at the moment, but he would have had only a certain amount of time to have written her while her and Jack were not together. Does that make sense? Because they had just broke up. So I think that normally girls, if you have a boyfriend and a guy slides into your inbox, you normally just ignore them. That's what I do anyway. I assume other girls do that too. So I think that it was just, that's probably maybe part of it. And like, it's sad. But I'm going to go ahead and play the rest of this. There's 12 minutes left. I'll put up a poll and see if you guys want me to do like Gray's video, or we could either do that tonight or tomorrow. And then we could do the other podcast either tonight or tomorrow. Yeah, you're right, Richie. Well said. All of us knows what's up. High school, college, the cliques exist. Cool kids, nerds, sorry. Jock stoners, unfortunately, you never know. Social media. can make it worse. Try to be kind. Some people are really struggling. You're so right. You're so right. That's the truth. You never know what's going on in someone else's head.
On Crime Network.
Knowing him, though, is such a loose term. I mean, she could have matched with him on Tinder and said, oh, no, thanks. I don't want to go out with you. And he latched onto that, and she wouldn't have known him.
You're right. And I was actually told that some of the people on Tinder, I was told that some of the kids in that area use Tinder for networking and stuff like that, not just for dating. But I don't know whether that's true or not. Maybe there could have been some type of Tinder connection. I don't know. But as far as them interacting and, hey, we went on a date or we're friends or what have you, I'm not aware of any connection like that. And frankly, I think the fact that he went to Maddie's room first, that to me says a lot. So was she the target? Did he somehow interact with her at some point in time? I don't think we know these things.
Could Brian Koberger have seen one of the women online and tried to start a relationship only to be ignored and rejected?
They don't consider murdering women a hate crime, but I think a lot of these cases are pretty much fall into that sort of category where you have white men who are rejected or, they don't get what they want when they want it. And that's why they do it. And it's just such a, this incel mentality, where they're just so women should just be falling on their knees to me. And that's not the way the world works. And then they're just so bitter about it that, everything isn't working out for them, that suddenly the world's against them and, they're a victim and it's, poor me.
Chris Bargo is a reporter with the TV magazine show Inside Edition and has been covering the Idaho murders. He spoke to Stephanie and Jeff about Brian Koberger's dating life and what he found out about Koberger's often creepy interactions with women.
Have you heard that he was an incel? Because Jeff and I were talking about that, and it seemed like it was a bit of a perfect example.
An incel is an internet term that describes young men who are frustrated by their lack of sexual experiences. It stands for involuntary celibate. Incels have often been known to lash out at women when rejected.
Hey, it's me, the girl that went on a Tinder date with Brian. We matched on Tinder.
Chris Bargo interviewed a woman named Haley Willett who went on a blind date with Koberger when they were both college students. She posted on social media about her disturbing interaction with Koberger and his inappropriate incel-like behavior.
I recognized him immediately and my heart just sank because I couldn't believe that I was face to face with this guy.
So about 2 weeks after the arrest of Brian Koberger, a young woman named Haley shares her story on TikTok that she went on a date with Brian Koberger about 7 years prior. She said they matched on Tinder, they talked for a few hours, they went to the movie, it was pretty inconsequential. They drove back to her dormitory, he parked, and she said that she thought they were maybe going to talk. She then said she's going to go up to her dorm room, and that's when she said he invited himself up with her. Now, Haley's very clear that she didn't really feel threatened and she wasn't scared. She just kind of thought he was a very clingy sort of guy. So she said because she's socially awkward, she didn't really know how to say no, and she let him come up. And that's when she said things really started to change. She suddenly became very pushy, and he kept trying to touch her. And when he would touch her, she would say, "What are you doing?" And he would say, "I'm not touching you," and then get very serious about it. And she just said it got to the point where she didn't know what else to do. So she excused herself to go to the bathroom and then made it sound like she was loudly throwing up. But instead of leaving, he just stood outside the door. So she just stayed in there and waited until he finally left. And then when he did finally leave, he texted her that she had great birthing hips. And Haley did not ever speak to him again. And she really posted this as just sort of a message to women saying, trust your gut. If you think something's off, do the right thing and just get rid of the guy. And again, she said she wasn't afraid of him. She just thought he was an awkward, kind of clingy guy that was probably more into her than she was into him.
Wildly creepy.
And tell us, what was her disposition like?
Haley just seemed like someone who was trying to make a point of sort of sending out a message to other women that, like she said, just trust your gut. She did not seem to be looking for any sort of fame or notoriety. She wasn't out courting, interviews or anything. If anything, she was turning most of them down. And she, of course, was dealing with a horrible backlash of people trying to dox her and people saying horrible things about her, wanting to know what she looked like back then versus now. Grossly misogynistic things that happen to pretty much any woman who comes forward in any of these cases, even if they're not involved. It seemed like at one point she was getting more hatred for this murder than the actual suspect. But she was very clear that something was off about him. And this is one of the few people we had spoken to or seen in the media at that point who wasn't from his hometown, that just kind of knew him as a one-off. And there were very few people that we could get like that.
Just the idea that you can go on a blind date with a person who, seems nice enough, to your point, seems to come from a nice family, not a bunch of zombies. You check a bunch of boxes, he's educated, he's on the right track, and come to find out you just dodged a real bullet by locking yourself in the bathroom.
Koberger's troubled relationship with women only seemed to continue and often even escalate during his brief time at Washington State University. In addition to being kicked out of a bar in Pennsylvania for harassing the waitresses, Koberger lost his teaching assistant job at WSU around the time of the murders.
Brian Koberger's behavior at the school had been flagged by Washington State University.
This is a really big deal. The out-of-state tuition is $50,000 at Washington State University. So his teacher's assistant job was a really big deal and very important to him. This going away is a real life changer for him.
Koberger didn't come from money, right? His parents had filed for bankruptcy at least once, and to have your tuition paid for a PhD program is a pretty big deal. But over the course of the fall, what we really see, according to all these reports, is that his professors in the criminology department are really troubled by his behavior. And it seems like some of that behavior is how he treated undergraduate female students and other women in the PhD program.
And is that because he's just odd and awkward and doesn't really have a great sense of social cues? Or again, is this a tale of a real psycho in training?
But there are some things we do know. Koberger was not the most inspiring educator and had a tendency to talk down to people, especially female students. He would grade them harder and kind of be demeaning to them. We know that on September 23rd, about a month into his role as a TA, there was an altercation between him and his professor, John Snyder, who was kind of effectively his boss. Then just a couple weeks later, on October 3rd, Koberger and members of the faculty of the School of Criminology had a discussion about the norms of professional behavior and what to expect moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, norms of professional behavior, that's the phrase we've heard a lot. There's other reports that he gets into a screaming match with another female student who leaves the room because of the way he's talking down to her. So, I mean, when you talk about norms of professional behavior, it just doesn't sound like he's acting in an appropriate way. And I think that really is what we're talking about in this entire story of Brian Koberger, is the way he views women, the way he treats women, and then ultimately what he does to women.
It's interesting because by all accounts, from what we've heard, he comes from a very loving family. So again, it doesn't really fit the familial MO for someone who's, air quotes, anti-women.
No, not at all. But by the end of December, by the end of the first term, Washington State University pulls his TA position funding. And, he essentially has to now come up with that tuition, that $50,000 to cover his program. He's terminated from his teaching assistant position. And so his behavior, imagine what you have to do to get that teaching position just, yanked from underneath you.
Someone allegedly broke into the woman's apartment and moved things around. Instead of calling police, the coworker called Koberger, who suggested and helped her install security cameras.
Investigators are looking into if Koberger was behind the break-in and used the cameras to spy on his colleague, Stephanie and Connor.
Can you imagine if this is actually accurate? I know all of this is unanswerable in this regard, but we want to be able to know that the scary person is obvious. And this doesn't seem obvious enough to me.
It doesn't seem obvious, but there definitely is a pattern here. I mean, this behavior towards women, whether it was when he was home in Albrightsville, Pennsylvania, and getting kicked out of the bar there, or it's at WSU, the way he's interacting with undergraduates and other PhD students. Oh, and by the way, he also got kicked out of a program in high school as well. So when you see him on paper, he looks like a really well put together person. But there's a lot of these stories that are coming together that really fit a pattern of somebody who has real serious problems.
But the allegations of Brian Koberger's disturbing behavior at WSU don't end there. Police are investigating a break-in at the home of a female coworker. Let's stop here for another break.
Enjoy all your
I have a question for you guys. So, and I didn't want to interrupt the podcast, but do you guys think that Brian told his parents about losing his teaching job? Do you think maybe like, I mean, do you think he told his dad on the way home? Or do you think if he did, in fact, you know, all this isn't true and it's all alleged right now, but if he did, in fact, lose his job, that's $50,000 in tuition that he would have to pay. And his parents don't have money like that. They're driving like old vehicles. One of them is like from the early 2000s, maybe one's from like the 90s even. They're not financially able to pay that. I'm just wondering if he had a long time with his dad. I would be singing like a canary. But I guess it would depend on which parent, you know what I mean? Because sometimes you go to mom for things, sometimes you go for dad for things. I don't even know. I would just probably tell my parents though, because that's what they just told us. If we ever told them the truth, we would never get in trouble. So we never did. Exactly. Yeah, Jethro. Exactly. That's what I mean. Like if it is, you know, it's all alleged right now. But if he did lose his job, he would have to ask him for money. Yeah, Mindy. I mean, unless he's going to go work for DoorDash. You know, you're not going to get $50,000. I don't think that way. You might. I would love to know those exact questions answered. Yeah, exactly. I want the answers for those too. Maybe he went to his dad and then his dad was like, you know, I'll help you with your rent and stuff. And maybe but I just don't see his parents being able to do that. The apartment has to be expensive too. I think he knew before he was let go though. Cause you know what I mean? Like if you guys have ever been let go from a job, unless you just do something off the rails, you know, one day, normally there's like a buildup. There's like a lead up to that, you know, that firing. So yeah, Patty said his dad called the police about his sister's phone. He didn't tell his dad. That's true. I think that his dad called the police on him that time because he had done so many things before it came to that point. Because parents don't just call the cops on their kids for no reason, you know? Normally you give them a lot of chances before you bring the law in and get them involved. I'm going to go ahead and hit play on this.
Favorite sports like never before at BetMGM. All your favorite sports played.
For one thing.
It's got everything I love. Discovering, shopping, collecting, partying with my friends.
Play, live, slip. And now celebrating her new podcast series, The History of the World's Greatest Nightclubs on iHeartRadio. Come live it up and jump through the portal to iHeartland for a quest to unlock a limited edition UGC item.
It's going to be epic. Now you're sliving. Sliving Land on Roblox. Loves it.
If Brian Kohlberger was digitally stalking one of the women in the house, many have speculated that either Kaylee Gonsalves or Madison Mogen were his primary target since they were killed first.
Kaylee was set to graduate early and had actually moved out of the house and was only back in town to visit her friends, show them her new car, and just have a fun weekend. So she's not living in this house. We know that Kaylee was sleeping in Maddie's bed because we know that that's where she was found. They were both found in her bed. So if Kohlberger had been digitally stalking or physically stalking any of these girls, he would have seen on social media that Kaylee was back in town. Could this have been the reason why he struck on that night in November?
There's multiple photos from that weekend of all of the roommates together with Ethan as well. And so if you're digitally stalking, you see that Kaylee's in town. The roommates are essentially all back together, which is kind of what they were saying. It was how great it is to be all back together. And he might have seen that.
Can you imagine too, again, maybe had they not posted on social media, the car or where they were, or just how happy they were to be together, maybe he wouldn't have known.
Here's Stephanie speaking with Chris Spargo.
If you don't like gay people and you commit a crime against a gay person, it's a hate crime. If you don't like people of a certain race and you commit a crime against them, it's a hate crime. But what if you hate women What if you are like these young men who feel so entitled to female affection, and then when they don't get it, they carry out these crimes? Why isn't that a hate crime? And why aren't we focusing on that aspect of it? Because that seems to get lost in the mix. And being a woman in this day and age is just negotiations, especially when you're with men. It seems like, how you're going to behave, how you're going to treat them. You modify your behavior based on the way they're behaving to protect yourself. If you're on a date with someone for the first time, if you're maybe going to go home with someone, you have to sort of map out all these things because you don't know the person they might become once you get into their apartment or they get into your apartment. It's very, very scary. And even on a more sort of casual level, if you're talking to someone and you just don't want to be mean or you just don't want to be outwardly rejecting of them and you're just nice, that niceness can get misconstrued and then used against you as some sort of leading them on, and it's ridiculous.
The relationship between them, well, him, I should say, and is it Kaylee?
We still don't know for sure that there was any specific target. It would seem, however, that early suggestions, for whatever reason, have focused on Kaylee. And Kaylee was getting ready to move out. She got a job in Texas. She just bought a new car. She's going to be working at an IT firm. Everything is sort of coming together for her. Like she was beginning her life as an adult. And then she went out with her friend Madison that night. Xana had gone out with her boyfriend. The other two roommates were also out. They all get back to their apartment. And then where it gets crazy is the time frame, because Xana gets his DoorDash delivery at 4:05 a.m. And at 4:20 a.m., the suspect car is seen speeding away. How do you murder 4 people in 15 minutes?
Kaylee's father, Steve Gonsalves, has said in several interviews that his daughter's wounds were significantly more brutal than Madison Mogen's.
I'll cut to the chase.
Yeah.
Their means of death don't match. They don't match. Their points of damage don't match.
According to her father, the knife wounds were deep and slashed open Kaylee's liver and lungs. This type of attack is often described as an overkill. It's typically a sign that the victim was an intended target rather than someone who just happened to be there.
Xana's dad told the press that when she was killed, she had defensive wounds, some of which were so bad that her fingers were almost cut off, implying that at some point she maybe tried to grab the knife as it was being kind of lunged at her. So is it possible that maybe she surprised Kohberger after hearing the other people were killed and he was on his way out? We also know that Ethan's neck was slashed, which would imply that he was not in bed, but maybe somewhere in the room in the doorway is what we've heard. So while Kaylee had the deepest wounds in comparison to Maddie, without other information, it's hard to know exactly what that means.
Yeah, Kaylee's dad has mentioned that her wounds were way deeper than the other roommates. That's obviously something that investigators are looking at.
While impossible to know yet who Brian Kohberger was specifically targeting, there are disturbing details about his final days in Pullman, Washington before driving home. Here again is reporter Chris Bargo.
I personally think that he knew he was not going to be able to go back because he wasn't kicked out of the program, but he lost his TA position. And if you are a TA, you get an in-state tuition and they waive it for a year. And there's all these sort of allowances. But if you're not a TA, you have to pay full out of state. And suddenly he has to pay like $48,000 to go back in the spring. That's a huge leap for someone who didn't really have a job before that. So I don't know that he would be able to do it. So either he moved everything out of that apartment knowing he wasn't coming back, or he actually lived like that where there was no shower curtain. There was, like a stripped mattress. It was no furniture in there, one TV. And I think that when the public defender came to get the stuff, she took like a TV, a CD tower, and like a monitor. And that was it. So it's just sort of a very bare bones, chilling sort of setup.
More on that next time. For more information on the case and relevant photos, follow us on Instagram at KT_studios. The Idaho Massacre.
Okay, let me get all these banners and everything down because, just looking a little crazy. It's looking a little crazy. There we go. Turn my camera back on. Don't forget to vote on the poll. I'll leave it open for just like another minute or something. And then we can close it. Yeah, so they're saying that, so I believe Kaylee's family came out and said that she had some sort of defensive wounds like on her. What I believe happened, and I just believe that she was sleeping in her bedroom, even though she wasn't living there any longer. she still had a bed and stuff there because they normally will leave their beds for like the next set of girls if they want it that come in the house. And I believe that she woke up because she heard something. And then when she got up, that's when I think she saw the suspect, whether that's Brian Kohlberger or somebody else, going into Maddie's room. And then she followed them in. And that's when everything kind of happened in there. Because those rooms are very small and they're it's really, I don't know how to explain it. It's not like there's a way out. Like you have to physically, like they could just stand in that doorway and just like, there's nothing you can do. Cause like the bed is there, the desk, and then you have like your end table. There's not a lot of like walking room. You're just that, like, especially in Maddie's room. So I just feel bad. Connor said, I don't think that he, or I think he didn't, sorry, tell his dad he lost his job. I think it could have been one of his tipping points. Yeah, it definitely could have. Those rooms are tiny. Yeah. You think so too, Brooklyn? Me too. Hi, the snooper said, does anyone know, does anyone happen to know if their 911 dispatch was down at all that night or early AM? I don't know. I don't think so. But I feel like I've heard that at the same time, like a long time ago. But maybe that was something that they were saying. Like, because normally you'll hear it on the scanner. I'm wondering if people heard it on the scanner that morning. Because I know like a lot of small towns, like older people, mostly like older people, I would listen to the scanner if I had one. But they'll listen to the scanner. They'll just like have it in their house. They'll just be listening to it, like all the time. So I'm wondering if if it was on the scanner, like if it came in under like unconscious person at 1122 King Road, or yeah, bring Murphy in the courtroom, Summer said. Let's see. You think Haley was in a room because someone had to lock Murphy in there? I believe that too, Kara. I think that she turned around and put Murphy in the bedroom as she was going into Maddie's room. Like turned around, was like, oh, there's the dog, and maybe she even said that right when she was putting Murphy into the room. She put, there's someone here. Like she said, oh, there's someone here, like just kind of talking to Murphy in a way. And I think that's why there was no blood on him, because if whoever committed these crimes, they're not going to put the dog in there first, because they're going to have to open, if the dog's in with the girls, if they're both in the bed, they'll hear the person come in the room to get the dog, I don't believe that Kaylee was that intoxicated that night. That's where she wouldn't feel her dog, being taken out of the room. I just feel like she locked Murphy in there and then she kind of like walked out. See, Wizard said, I love my scanner, but I'm nosy. See, people have scanners. I just remember like whenever I was younger, it's probably because I was younger too. I was a lot younger when I thought it was older people's, I'm probably one of the older people now because I would have a scanner. I'd listen to that too. Patty Q. I don't know if I don't, that Linda Lane footage. Well, we can watch the Greg Hughes thing, but I don't know if I believe that was his car or not. I don't know what I believe on that. Like, I didn't watch all 5 hours because I'd rather watch paint dry. But I did watch the hour between, during the time, like the crime, during the time of the crime. And I don't know. The PCA, it doesn't really line up, because if you really are, if you're going to be technically, like was it 500 Queen Road, apartment 52 is in the middle of the big apartment complexes. It's not down on the end where Linda Lane is. It's in the middle. And that's where they're saying that he did that 3-point turn or that turnaround. So unless they're just doing like an approximation. But I don't know why they would put apartment number 52. That's so specific when they could have just put the whole building, 500 Queen, 500 Queen Road. Like, that's what I don't get about it. So, I actually wanted to show you guys this. This was my timeline that I put up here. Like, I did this timeline right after Brian was arrested. So right after the PCA came out, like literally the first day or two. So I was just going to go back through this. We went through this a couple of times, but because Gray Hughes' new video, he's saying that the crimes could have been committed, what was it, 7 minutes? Because it says, is that the same video that you guys were talking about? That is 7 minutes enough time? Because that's the video that I had up to look at. Oh, and Linda Lane is a road. Sorry. Linda Lane is it's like a turnaround, I guess. I could always pull it up too, but it'll probably be on the Gray Hughes video. So this is just like, I have the rest of the timeline, but this is just the part that I was wanting to grab. But it says at 3:29 a.m., the white Elantra is seen doing passes by the King Road residents. At 4:04, this is like my timeline, like based on the PCA and what I thought. At 4:04, surveillance shows the vehicle doing a U-turn, then parking between the intersection of Queen and King Road. 4:04 to 4:07, Dylan hears Kaylee with Murphy, then hears someone say, "There's someone here." So this would be after the suspect has entered. So between 4:04 and 4:07, the suspect would have been inside of the home. And then at 4:20, the suspect car is leaving. So I'm getting 16 minutes from that. I don't know why people are getting it down to 7 minutes, but we're going to see. We're going to check it out. Because I'm just like, because I mean, he would be in the house by 4:04, between 4:04 and 4:07. If Dylan hears, Kaylee say there's someone here, then obviously the suspect has to be inside the house. And then the suspect vehicle is seen leaving at a high rate of speed at 4:20. So I don't know. We're going to watch it though. Let me shut down the poll. I think everybody kind of was, there was like, let's see, 66% and then like 13% of you guys, what was it? 14% said they didn't care. So we'll play it. And I'm going to drop his link in here. Is this the same one that you guys were talking about before I play it though? Yeah. Okay. So it is 7 minutes. Okay. I'm going to play it because I didn't get to watch it. Yeah. I was going to watch it. Like I literally have it pulled up and it's pinned to play for you guys. Like watch, this is how far I got into it. I got 1 minute and 4 seconds into it. And I was like, oh, this is going to be good. Because I usually don't play other creators' content other than mainstream media. You know what I mean? Like News Nation, Court TV, my girl Nancy. You know what I mean? I normally, because I don't want to take from somebody's, because like it's a creator, But I know that Gray Hughes, he normally doesn't mind. I've actually played one of his animations before. So yeah, he's really good at what he does. I've been really wanting to get into 3D animation so bad. Like I can feel it. I'm gonna have to figure it out. It looks like it's hard to do, but I'm going to have Vincent help me. And he's going to have to figure it out first. So, oops, let me see. So we'll go over here and I'll rewind it. And I'm going to put his link in the chat in case anybody wants to go over and watch it again, watch it again, give him a like. You don't believe that one is his car, Jeff? Yeah, I don't know if I believe the footage about the car part. And I do agree that it does look like it's actually manual, doesn't it? Huh. I only watched that hour a couple of times, but it looks like it maybe almost rocks backwards. Huh. Okay. I see where you're coming from. And look, he even added her this time. So if you guys have been with me since the beginning of all of this, we played an animation on here and he had like Murphy inside the bedroom and stuff. And it was so spooky. It was so spooky. Okay, let me play this for you guys. Actually, get it to where he's actually talking. Here we go.
Hello, this is Gray Hughes of Gray Hughes Investigates on YouTube. Please like, share, and subscribe to the video, and leave a comment at the end and let me know what you think. Today's video is showing the final.
I was just going to let you guys know. I don't know if you could see my cursor, but do you know where the okay, so do you see the two long buildings right here? King Road is going to be right over here to the left of it. I wish it was a little bit easier to see, but he might point it out.
Pass number 4, even at turning around and then going back to Queen and King Road and then doing a 3-point turn and then going around. But then we have a clock that times how long it would take inside the house to commit the murders at 1122 King Road of Ethan Chapin, Xana Kernodle, Madison Mogan, and Kaylee Gonzalez. So as you'll see on the video here, it's 4:05 in the morning, almost 4:06, and that's when the white Elantra does a 3-point turn behind the apartment complex at 1330 Linda Lane camera viewing here. That isn't the 3-point turn, by the way, that is mentioned on the probable cause. Now, right in this area, I think there's a lot more time taken when law enforcement says that the white Elantra tried to park or turn. I think it was sitting there doing something. Now, what camera, how do we know that it did that? How does law enforcement know that it did that? Is there another camera, or is it the audio on the 1112 King Road surveillance camera that picks up the audio and sound? They can hear it kind of backing up and doing certain things. So I think that takes a little bit longer than we had previously thought on different videos that I've made. I think it literally sits there and it's probably checking to see if the lights will turn off, because we know that Xana is likely still awake at 4:05 and 4:06 because she had just received a DoorDash delivery. So here's where the vehicle takes a 3-point turn, then heads back down east on Queen Road. And this is the final completion of pass number 4. As you'll see, it'll go back behind, it'll pick up on the camera. And this is the Linda Lane camera.
Is there anybody that's in the chat, and this is a curious question, that feels with 1,000% certainty or 100% certainty that that's a white Hyundai Elantra? That you could say that that is a white Hyundai Elantra and not just any other car with a fish with the little shark tail. That's what they use to like cover the whatever they're called, to cover the antenna. Because I don't see it. I mean, I personally don't see it. I just see it's a car. It could be Fred from around the corner that just, wants to go hang out with his girlfriend. It could be Jimmy going to work. Could be, Nathaniel going on a hunting trip. But I mean, I don't know. I just wanted to ask you guys, because we didn't really go over the Linda Lane footage but one day, and that was all we needed to do. Whenever I was like, I'm done. The chat was off the rails, and I was like, we're not doing this. We're not doing Linda Lane footage, but because it was just too much. But I think that I don't know. I don't know. I think if you look at something so long, maybe you start to think that it's there, but I just don't see it.
And there it goes behind, and you can.
And if Dylan heard somebody say there's someone here and around 4 o'clock, 4:07 is closer to 4:10. Why wouldn't Dylan say I heard it around 4:10? Like 4:07 seems, I don't know, like a long time after 4 o'clock.
You can see the time right now is 4:07, and 40 seconds. And here it comes. Everything on this video this time is real time. I'm not speeding anything up. So here's where the vehicle parks. I believe it parked right behind in the woods, back behind. Could even be farther to the left there. And the real point of this video is to show you how easily somebody like Bryan Kohberger could go into that house and kill all 4 people in 7 minutes. I put time throughout this sequence here that shows the screen just goes blank, and you can use your imagination as to what happened in there. But it's a startling amount of time. I mean, 2 minutes at each location. I had to stop the 2 minutes at each location. I had to put in some just dark video so you can use your imagination as to what happened. So when the car parked here, I believe he prepared to get ready to go inside the house. Maybe he changed clothes. Maybe he put something over his clothing. Dylan Mortensen didn't mention anything over his clothing. She just said he was wearing all dark. So we don't know. Is he?
I'm just going to say that personally, I'm going to say he didn't change in the car. He wasn't doing any of that nonsense. Whatever he was wearing, whatever he wore inside the home, he was already in that stuff when he left his apartment. He wasn't going to be like, I'm going to sit here and park for a little while and put some duct tape or some saran wrap, around me so that there's no blood on me or whatever. I think that he was just wearing some sort of overalls. Maybe on the way out, most definitely could have taken them off. That's something quick that you can take off. Not so quick to put it on. I don't think that he was putting on clothes in the car right here. I think that he, in my opinion, I think that he pulled up, he stopped, and he got out immediately. I think it was one of those, I'm just going to go do it. I'm not going to think about it kind of deals. But I don't know. You guys let me know.
Putting a bag on the ground here. Does he put a bag in the woods to put his bloody clothing in after the murders? We know that based on what the defense said, that they didn't find any blood evidence inside of his vehicle. So perhaps Kohberger put things into motion to mitigate putting blood inside of his vehicle. So here he is getting out of the vehicle, illustrated by the red dot, and goes down into the woods. Now, I have him entering the house at around 4:10. So right about now, enters the house, and I have elapsed time. So that's a ticker down in the bottom left-hand corner, keeps track of the elapsed time while inside the house. I also believe that when Dylan heard what sounded like Haley playing with the dog, that's when the attack occurred, and that's right around here at 4:10. So right now, you'll see that the clock is going to sit here for 2 minutes. He went into Madison Mogen's room, and the clock is just going to tick here, and you can use your imagination as to what happened in that room. But as you'll see, it's a tremendous amount of time. So for all the people out there that think that you'd need multiple people to achieve this murder in this short amount of time, I hope this lets you see that it's definitely possible. I mean, this is the room where you had the knife sheath. One thing that people debate about was the knife sheath left there intentionally. I think it very well could be. I don't know for certain, because I have another theory that he went back upstairs to look for the knife sheath, and when he came back down, he heard Xana making noises, and that's when he said, "Hey, I'm here to help you," and then he killed her. And that would mean that he realized that he lost it somewhere, but he couldn't find it because it was underneath the quilt. However, you look at a theory where the knife sheath has been completely wiped clean, but he missed the spot right under the button. Why was he cleaning the knife sheath if he intended to take it with him? For the possibility that he might drop it there? I don't think so. So look at all this time that this was taking here. And it's still got another 10 or 15 seconds. Now you might hear an occasional bark or something in the background because I do have neighbors. All right, now the killer exits the room. You can see Kaylee and Madison on the bed there. Then goes down the stairs. And then I have like Ethan Chapin sees him right there. And then he follows around, and then Ethan Chapin has his hands up to stop. And then here, when Ethan Chapin is killed, I added another 2 minutes or so. Now, at this point, if he...
Why did Gray have him put Ethan first? Does anyone know that? Because Xana was the one found on the floor in front of the door. So to get the blood running down the back of the wall like that, Ethan would have had to have been in the bed or on the floor directly beside the bed. And I can show you the pictures too after this of the house, like because like of the inside of the room and where the blood was, because that would have made sense. But I'm sorry, I don't mean to keep interrupting him. But I love his animations. He's so good at this.
He is being attacked out in that hallway originally. I'm sure Xana would likely open the door, but maybe Ethan said, "Shut the door behind you," and then she goes back in the room and, you know, shuts the door and tries to hide. But surely she would have called 911 at that point if she had witnessed an attack going on. So I'm not really certain of how this all went down here. But as you can see, there's a tremendous amount of time. We're only at 3 minutes and 39 seconds now. And I think the murders could have happened in 4 minutes. I really do. Look how much time has already elapsed here. If people were sleeping or unaware or, you know, drunk, as a lot of them likely were, we know that Kaylee and Madison had a lot to drink. Madison was kind of swaying around. And it seemed like Kaylee had some too, but she wasn't quite as intoxicated as Madison was. So as you can see, we still have another 40 seconds or so just in that hallway, just to try to fill in the time here. So there's still a battle going in the hallway. See, I would think that he attacked Ethan and Xana almost simultaneously, because if there's this much time here, surely somebody would have made a phone call. Probably got another 20 seconds or so here. And after this 20 seconds is up, you'll see the killer go into Xana's room and Xana backing up on a bed. You know, and then again, now you need to use your imagination as to what may have happened inside that room. But look at the clock right now. It's 5 minutes and 13 seconds, 14, 15, 16, 17. That's all that has elapsed so far, but you can see how long it truly is.
Okay, so I'm not sure what he's talking about here because, you know, I know that Drunk Turkey, Daniel, had talked to Christy and said that Hunter had looked into the room and he's the one that found him. But if you look into the bedroom from the door, you'll see the bed and he could have mistaken it for the floor. I believe in that moment, he just saw a lot of carnage And I don't think he really knows what he saw other than what he was seeing some dead people, to put it bluntly. But according to the PCA, I'm trying to think of a good place to put. Okay, Officer Smith and I then walked upstairs to the second floor. Officer Smith directed me down the hallway to the west bedroom on the second floor, which I later learned through Xana's driver's license and other personal belongings found in the room was Xana Kernodle's room. Just before this room, there was a bathroom door on the south wall of the hallway. As I approached the room, I could see a body, later identified as Kernodle's, laying on the floor. Kernodle was deceased with wounds which appeared to have been caused by an edged weapon. Also in the room was a male, later identified as Ethan Chapin. So where the blood is coming down the wall, the door is on the other side of that room. So if Xana is in front of or is behind the door, like right there behind the door, like when you open the door, Ethan has to be over towards the bed. Because I don't think that house that has that much of a slant to where the blood is going to pull. It's going to pull before it goes all the way down like that. To put it, bluntly. And I can show a picture of it too.
And this one I have like at a minute 50 worth of time.
The blood just doesn't match up. I don't know.
Ish. So right now it's about 40% of the time that I'm allotting for Bryan Kohberger to spend in Xana's room. And for those of you who go, how do you know it's Bryan Kohberger? I'll say the killer in the room. I'm 100% certain that Bryan Kohberger is the killer in this case. And I'm just as certain that he acted alone. And so this is real time. So hopefully you're sitting there and you can use your imagination as to what's going on in these rooms here and in the hallway. And you can see how much time it is. I hope this is starting to let people know, oh, wow, that really is a lot of time. Because the walking that I'm doing is absolutely natural speed when you see the 3D animation. So here we go. Kohberger now looking at his handiwork, exits the room, probably shut the door, maybe moved Ethan around. And then right here, you can see Dylan Mortensen looking out the door there, then makes the turn and then goes out.
I'm sorry I'm nitpicking, but he just said maybe moves Ethan around. Ethan's a big boy. He was a big boy. If he is dead weight, can you imagine what kind of strength you would really need to have? And I don't think Kohberger possesses that kind of strength for dead weight. Like, I don't think he was moving people around.
Out the door. And as you can see, that took a total of 7 minutes and 9 or 10 seconds. And you'll see next the red dot come out of the house. And look at the time up there. It's only 4:17 and 19 seconds or so. So this is about when there was a dog barking, whimpering sound. So we may have left a little bit later than this. But again, when the car speeds away at 4:20, that means there's another 2 minutes or so after Kohberger gets to his white Elantra parked behind the building. So at this point, it might be where he took off all of the bloody clothing that he had on and put that into a plastic bag and tried to minimize completely the blood exposure to his own vehicle. I'm sure he wore gloves, obviously, because there was no touch DNA on the knife sheath other than the underside of that button. So if he had been holding the knife sheath, there would be DNA all over it. If he'd been holding it with his bare hand, that is. So he definitely wore gloves, and I think he used the gloves to take off his bloody clothing And then he put the bloody clothing inside of a bag, maybe like place it inside the bag. And then he takes off his bloody gloves. And then who knows if he rinsed his hands off or not. And then puts the bag, wraps it up and puts it in another bag, maybe in his vehicle, and then drives off and disposes of the bag somewhere. I'd be really shocked if he took the clothing home with him, but I guess he could have and then just washed it in a washing machine. We don't know. So this is the time he's spending near his vehicle after leaving the house, and I think that's when he's trying to mitigate the blood exposure to his white Elantra. And as you can see, this is quite a bit of time to be able to change clothes and get out of the bloody clothing, put it in the bag, etc., etc. But he's probably even hustling doing this because he seems like he's in a hurry. That's why he's speeds away from the crime scene. And you'll see that coming up in just a second. So I have it timed right around 4:20. So just realize that the time inside the house was the elapsed time of 7 minutes and 10 seconds. In the vehicle. So as you can see, he continues on Volante Drive. And as we know, when he was south of Moscow, his phone was turned back on. And with only 20 minutes after the white Elantra left the Moscow area, it pinged 20 minutes later south of Moscow and continued to ping all around until it made it back up to Pullman, Washington around 5:30 a.m. So here's a shortened version of this. And this is inside Madison's room. Then down the stairs. And there's Ethan. And turns the corner. And then into Xana's room. Killed both of them. Then exits the room. Makes her right. Then Dylan Mortensen opens the door right there. You can see her peering out. She sees the bushy eyebrows, wearing all dark, and a face mask. And that's it, everybody. So thank you very much for watching. Let me know what you think in the comment section. I think this video certainly shows that a killer could easily have killed all 4 victims within that 7-minute time frame, and even much sooner. So thank you very much for watching. And as I always say, everybody, until next time, be safe.
Let me get myself off mute. I'm going to put his link back in the chat in case anybody wants to watch his videos without my commentary, because I did interrupt him a lot. But Brandy wants, she's behind the chat. I thought I saw some messages, so I was looking back. I was like, Oh no! Oh no! I won't waste no money. I won't get no. I wouldn't get coveralls, but I could just take off just like my clothes tonight when I go, to bed, and time myself. And I have metal rods in my legs, so we can see how fast I could do it. Now it's like a challenge because I love doing experiments. I love experiments. All things Aries. I'm glad that you like my voice. Yeah, he's off on his details for sure, but I couldn't believe how long 7 minutes actually is. Yeah, no, I was actually going to do that a while ago on the channel, make us sit here for because it was 16 minutes at one point, and then it was 14 minutes, and then the time kept changing. But I was like, I don't know if everyone would stick around that long because, really, I mean, just sitting here in silence for that long, that it really gives you a perspective of how how long it actually is, you know? I mean, in that house, it's big, but it's not that big. It's like it's close quarters. But what I was going to show you was this. Let me see if I can find it really quick. I know there's a way to. Okay. So let me share this with you guys really quick. Oh, thank you, Art Reeves. I appreciate that. Great show tonight. Thank you, Tanya and Mods. Thank you so much for the $1.99 super sticker. Thank you. Or super chat, whatever they are. I always get them backwards. I know I do. Y'all, okay, so you guys weren't in here the other night when Nancy scared the shit out of me. Literally, guys. Like some of you guys were, but we were playing a Nancy Grace the other night, like a video. So I went to move her like over behind me, and I'm blind in one eye, and it's a thing, and I get spooked very easily, very easily. Well, I sat her right here because I was like, oh, I need to answer the chat. I saw someone had asked a question. I don't know why I had to be the one to answer. I was like, oh, I got to answer this. So I run over and I'm answering the question. And between answering a question that took me 2 seconds to answer, I somehow forgot that Nancy was right behind me. So when I turned around, I wasn't on the live. Thank God I was muted, but I screamed like loud. And then I lost it and I was laughing. It was really funny. But I'll show you this part, and then tomorrow I'll show you. I'll tell you guys what I think happened that night, because I've only shared it a couple times on the channel, and I feel like it makes sense. It accounts for everything. So, but they're saying that they found like Xana was on the floor behind the door, and if you go to here, this is like the little gallery. Hold on, let's move past this. So that was where the blood was. So it's on the south wall. Oh, I was calling that the south wall too. I was right that whole time. And I kept like questioning myself. And so you can see where the bed is, and it's right behind the bed. So I just don't get how they would be on the other side of the room. Does that make sense? Like south wall. There's without the bed. And then there's without the flooring. I just don't know how that would happen. Because it's not like, it's not liquidy. You know what I mean? Like it pools, blood pools. I hate to say that, but oh my gosh. Aries, really? You went to John Elton concert and you got his autograph? Rocket Man is one of my favorite songs. It's one of my favorite songs. I actually there's a band that sings does like a cover of it. Oh, it's so good too. I love that. Brandy wanted to probably scare me too. No, she scared the shit out of me. It was so funny though. I had to get back on the live and I was laughing because I was laughing so hard. I was like, I got to tell him about this. I was afraid Vincent was going to run in the room and be like, what happened? Because like she scared the shit. I was like, don't you do that again. And then she won up to me the other night when I thought I was like, Nancy, be so proud of me. And then the last 3 minutes of the video, she's like, no, I already knew that. And I'm like, oh, she won up to me. Nancy and Ma'am currently refrain from scarring our Donnie. I know. Don't do that, Nancy. I'm going to scare the guys whenever they come to redo our whole place. I'm just going to keep her in here somewhere. It'll scare the crap out of them. None of them, they don't speak English to me. Like they may speak English, like, they probably do, but they won't speak it to me. They won't even look at me when I'm around. Like, it's so cute. I don't know why they won't. They literally and because they're the same people that do I don't know why this is the same people, but they do our buildings, that do our that do our lawn care, that do a lot of the stuff around here. It's like the same company that outsources the same people. And because you'll see the same people in the neighborhood, and I'll walk by them and I think it's the dogs. I think that's what scares everybody, because they won't even look at me. They'll just look away and then they'll talk to each other. And I didn't take Spanish in high school like I should have. You know, I took French. What's that going to do for me over here? Nothing. No one speaks French. So I'm like, what are you saying, sir? I just gonna have to like make my dogs look even scarier, I guess. No, they don't look scary. They're just always rambunctious. Yeah, just a girl that blood ran down the cracks of the flooring, which may have ran a long ways in the room before seeping out. See, I would think it would, what's it called? Congratulate? I can't say the word. Like, and pool. Like, it would be thick. Like, it wouldn't be, I don't know. I've bled a lot before, but I don't remember it. Like, I busted my whole face. Thank God I don't remember that. But yeah, I'm kind of, you know. Oh, look at Teresa over here with the French. I don't know that much, just a little bit. His next song called Titanium Wonders. He should. To Montreal. I'm not very good at French though. We all kind of just like copied off each other the first period, like the first year. Because we were just like, we could, because there was no teacher in there. We were over a computer. So we were like over a projector, and it was like 4 different schools. And we didn't have a teacher in there with us. Nobody was controlling the class. So we all copied off of like this really smart kid, Drew. I still know his name. I'll never forget him. So then the next year, we took it all this again, right? Because we're like, we're going to take French too, because, you know, we did so good in it last year. We copied off this kid. We had a substitute person come in. They sat somebody in there with us, and we were like, we're in trouble. So when we couldn't be sneaky anymore. Now you're all outsmarting me over here with the French. Brooklyn, you look like that. You look like you would know multiple languages. You seem, I don't know why you say you look like it, but you seem like you would. Like, not just like 1 or 2. I'm talking like you look like you would know like 3 or 4 or 5. I don't know why, but you do. You're just intelligent. Intelligent girl. I think so. I think Mindy, that's what it means. Yeah, it wasn't. Oh yeah, no, it wasn't there. Yeah, it is definitely the B word running down that wall. Yeah, because in the body cam footage with Kaylee, when they go up the back way, like in August, it wasn't there. So if it was like rust, there would have been something. It's not. I actually watched Duty Ron. What's the guy that's on his show? I forget his name, but he's another cop, but he was like a CSI, and he really went and explained it really well. Ed or something, but that's his name. I can actually count higher in Spanish than I can in French. But we had the hardest Spanish teacher where I went to school at. I mean, she was really, really, really hard, I heard. I was afraid of her, so I didn't go. Ed Wallace, that's his name. Thanks, guys. I knew you guys would know. Ed Wallace, yeah. He explained it really well. Like, you know, what the piping is, what it wouldn't do, what it would do, and I thought it was pretty good. You might be able to look it up even still, like, I don't know. It was like right when all this was going on, though. Like right when it started, not, you know. But I think tomorrow we'll go through I have 2 more podcasts. I listened to one. I listened to most of it, so I have some like photos for it saved, but I have to listen to the other one and save some photos for that. Now I think Summer's making up words now. I don't know, because I don't know them. I'm just gonna say that. I'm just gonna say she is. I wonder if there's anybody out and about on the YouTube streets tonight. Maybe, you never know. Okay, well, I'm going to jump off of here. Oh, look, there we are. We're in the algorithm. And Gray Hughes is actually live. I just saw that like on my thing. We were talking about him, so don't forget to come back tomorrow at 8:15. I'm not even on the freaking screen. I thought I was on the screen this whole time, guys. I'm so sorry. I'm been looking at the camera. I'm over here looking at this camera. I do that. I take myself off. I don't mean to. Let me actually, just because I remember to put my banner back up, my logo. It was a good one in Cat's Life. You missed a good one, and we had a good live. Chinese, a cat? Oh, I have a cat. Like, I have a cat. I don't know why I said that, but I do. He likes my computer now. He just wants to hang out on my desk, and I don't know what to do about it. Other than, like, I kicked him off today, and then I felt so bad that I put him back up here because he runs this place. I don't. He's ran my life for 14 years, and I would be extremely lucky if I got 14 more, but I'll be lucky to have whatever I have with him because he's my baby. Cat's Life has 2 cats. I figured you did. You have 2 of them? Oh. Well, I hope you guys have a great night. Thank you guys for spending a little bit of your Friday evening with me. I really appreciate it. And it's the first of the month. Like I said, beginning fresh starts. I don't know. It's almost like fall time too. So that's coming up. I'm not looking forward to that. Not yet anyway. But I'll see you guys tomorrow. We'll probably do Idaho, like I said. And then I was watching something earlier. I was reading something earlier. Let me see if I can pull it up really quick, actually. It's like, I think it's a new case. Like, our girl Nancy was like talking about it. And I was like, what is this? Let me see. Dennis Rader, there's a part 2 for that, but it's only a few minutes long. But yeah, it's something about somebody like turning up dead in an $800,000 townhome. So I don't know. It looks really good though. So I'll have to read through it and I'll have to tell you guys about it. But yeah, I hope you guys have a great night and a great weekend. If I don't see you guys, maybe you'll be doing something fun. Who knows, funner than this? I don't think so. There's nothing funner than this. Nothing at all. But like I said, I'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a great night. Love you. Bye.